The law should apply to everyone. If only we held the rich and powerful accountable for breaking said laws and whatnot. FCC officials, the people who decide the laws and regulations that Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, etc. have to follow, owned hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock in those companies while they were on the FCC
Yeah.
committees.
Amazing, right?
Amazing. I'm shocked. I'm shocked and appalled that actually no, I'm not. That we would allow, even though it's against the law, that we would allow people to sit on the FCC chair or be involved in trading stocks, potentially monetizing those stocks due to policies that they pass.
They are literally helping shape regulation
That will directly
while having a
be
financial
profitable to them.
stake. Right. Having a financial stake in whether or not those
Mhm.
companies succeed.
Yep.
And everybody's not surprised at all. Why should we be? We've seen this time and time again. Think about all of the sitting congressmen who made a fortune. What was the big remote meeting company right before all of the COVID shutdowns? Citrix.
Yeah.
That's how all of these congressmen came out owning millions of stock in Citrix and maybe even Zoom before the shutdowns came out. Like, they started buying up all of these things because they knew, they had this knowledge that shutdowns were going to happen,
which is the definition of insider trading.
Yeah. You know what some countries do? Well, this is different. I guess that's bankers. I don't know. Iceland started jailing bankers that break the laws, and guess what? They have less financial frauds.
Weird that when you hold those in power accountable, you get less fraud.
Isn't that bizarre?
I don't understand it.
Do you ever feel as though, and I feel like this often, and this isn't necessarily related to this FCC thing, but it is, where it's like, existing in this country, I often just feel as though my first occupation, my first line of duty is consumer. Like, I am a target consumer. And
Rhett,
it's
my
not
title to most people is influencer.
I know. Isn't that awful?
It's disgusting, and I hate it with every fiber of my being. By the way, make sure to follow my affiliate links down in the video description.
But see, that's what's irritating about the whole thing is, like, we create quality content that is literally enough to support livelihoods on a free platform that we then have to monetize outside in other ways. And we're really lucky that we have an audience that's okay with that.
Yeah.
Because we have an audience that's on Patreon. We have an audience that clicks on those affiliate links. We have an audience that's comfortable with super chats. And but yeah, it's just so bonkers when you think about the commodification of our time, of our our focus. What's the word I'm looking for? Good Lord, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but it's like
getting eyeballs on screen, getting eyeballs onto products, and getting people to open their wallets because of it.
All right. Yeah. All right. The commodification of our attention.
Mind share. Right.
Yeah. And it's just like, man, and then here we are, and it's like, it's not enough that these people have a great job, presumably have a great job. I don't know. I know that public service isn't necessarily the highest paying gig of all time, but generally, like, it's okay in a lot of places. It's okay in Oregon. And these people are capitalizing on their knowledge, their inside track, the rules that they're making in order to make an extra buck. And it's like, I don't know who to blame. Do I blame them? Do I blame the system? Do I blame the gigantic companies that are...
I think you start with blaming them, because there are rules and there are laws for how you are to conduct yourself financially as either an employee of the state, an employee of the government, an employee of the federal government, in a position of power, that they all have words and nomenclature around all of this kind of stuff. As a government employee, regardless of what government you work for, you are forbidden to financially benefit from your position. That's a federal and state, city, county law, up and down every single law book that you would ever
Remember
open.
the episode of Parks and Rec where Leslie Knope was like investigated for accepting a bottle of wine? Like, come on.
Right. When
I'll disclose, when I was a park ranger at Oregon's largest state park, there was a gigantic Indian family get together. They had a barbecue. The food was delicious and amazing. And when they were shutting down, they gave me a lot of food. And I shared it with everybody.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well,
it was good, man.
If they shared it with the park and as park employees, that's fine. But when I've done government work and been contracted in that regard, I cannot be taken out to lunch for a meeting because it may influence my decision on who we do business with.
Now, isn't that amazing? Now you can make videos and
a $15 meal from a Chinese restaurant, but motherfuckers on Capitol Hill are buying up hundreds of thousands of dollars of telecom stock and then giving contracts directly to these telecoms in which they will financially benefit from. And that's totally okay.
Randar says, we can't jail everyone who's guilty of insider trading. Yeah, exactly. Red alert, baby.
But
he says we can't jail everyone who's guilty because who would be left in Congress? And you know what,
that's
Randar?
Not a bad thing.
It's not.
But the problem is
we'd hold more elections. I'd vote for you, Randar.
Who's going to hold those people accountable? Where's the accountability for those
man?
people?
It's like, think about all of the friction that we've had. We've talked about it on this show with the FCC. Net neutrality.
The whole GPI fiasco.
You know what abolishing net neutrality would do for their stock prices and thus their trading portfolio?
Do you know what it did? Right.
Yeah, man, we're in the wrong line of business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But who do I blame? Let's blame the people who are in power. Let's blame the people who are actually doing insider trading. Because there are very clear rules, there are very clear laws in all forms of government, both local, state, and federal, that prohibit this crap.
But then they prohibit this crap and all this sort of stuff, and it's like you could almost make the case of
But then they're also the ones who get to decide if they prosecute for that crap. So if everyone's doing it,
right,
and then they're not going to point the fingers at themselves.
And you know what? You know what else? I'm going to point some fingers at Comcast too. Okay, stop doing so well financially.
Well, let's point fingers at Comcast, and again, let's say, what's the word for basically bribing?
Basically bribing?
Campaign contributions and the like. Lobbying. There we go. Oh. Lobbying. Yeah. Let's, who got $1.2 million from Comcast and then voted to make Comcast the only provider for the state of Pennsylvania or whatever the hell,
Well, and this is the biggest problem, right? Man, we're about to get super in the weeds of politics, so maybe I won't go there, but it's like there's a specific administration here in the United States of America that saw away with lobbying regulations and spending limits and lobbyist limits and all of this sort of stuff. And when those went away, you began to see a rise in this type of behavior. I swear, like maybe not. Like I admit, I'm young, like I'm a millennial, and so maybe I have a skewed perspective on the whole thing because I was so young while it's all unfolding. But it's like,
if you are the only organization that has the power to hold yourself accountable, then there is no accountability.
Yeah, DK Vid says Citizens United. Exactly. And that's exactly one of the things that I was thinking of.
We've
It happened in a
it's
specific administration.
it's the same thing with police. We've investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing. Well, of course not. You're not gonna.
Oh yeah, that's there's an amazing Salem news story that I was reading the other day where they were finding like, well, police wrongdoing is actually down, and it's like then there's another story that's basically like police refuse to submit their cases to
The oversight committees.
the oversight committees. I'm like, hey, good job, Salem
They're like,
police,
well, what's
you've
the
done
penalty
it.
if we don't turn over the documentation? They're like, well, we legally have nothing that we can hold
It's
you with. And they went,
all
oh, well, we're just not going to
voluntary.
turn it in then.
It's all voluntary.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
The system that we've walked ourselves into.
Welcome to every city in America.